welcome everybody. And we normally have public comment here. Since I think Jane's only got a little bit of time, let's not, and we usually don't get a whole lot of public comment anyway. Let's skip ahead if that's all right with everybody.
Sure.
We just need to approve the minutes first.
Yep.
From the last meeting.
It looks good to me.
Yeah, me too.
I move that we approve them.
Anybody second? Okay, all in favor?
Do we have enough for a quorum?
We do. There's four of us.
Okay.
It's the magic number.
I missed it. Lois, you seconded?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's muted.
Yes,
So on the 29th, we've got Dr. Jaguar. Everybody's got a copy of the agenda, right? Or,
Yep.
So we're to the support for Dr. Jaguar's talk, our table from 6 to 6:30 and actually probably from 6 to 8 and maybe a little even after that. Jane, do you want to make some comments to introduce the idea?
Sure. Well, first of all, I know some of you, and for those of you I don't know, I'm Jane Gruba Chevalier, and I'm the executive director at the Concord Land Conservation Trust. And we have organized a talk with Dr. Robert Jaguar, who is a professor of biology at UMass Dartmouth, to come and speak at the library. And I think, as you all know, there's a number of us who are either sponsoring or partnering for this presentation that he's going to give. And the idea is to set up information tables between 6 and 6:30. So Mark, I'll circle back with you to confirm the time when it would be appropriate for people to arrive to start setting up those tables.
Okay.
I think I had said with Rini, Laura, maybe you know. I mean, I think I had said with Rini at 5:30, but I'd have to look at my notes.
yeah, and I'm sure, and Jane, it probably depends on how many people end up signing up, if you want the tables actually in the room or outside the forum. But I think we have like 50, I looked earlier today, like 50 something people.
I think Rini said 58, and I went and looked and it was like 60 something, or a little over 60.
Well,
Whoa.
we shot out emails to like the community gardens, the garden clubs, the schools, just to try to make sure. So more reservations have been coming in today. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I'm sure whenever you want to get there is to set up is fine.
Okay. And I'll probably I will send an email out to all of us, just confirming different logistics and details. But the idea was to have all of us, all of the partners on this project, have an information table where we can share about the work we're doing. That can be past work, can be present work, it can be future work, but specifically, about your mission, of course, overall, but also about the work that you're doing to support pollination systems in Concord, and then ways people can either engage with information that you have available, or ways that they can engage in a volunteer basis with work that you're doing, whatever works for you. And so in that half hour leading up to Dr. Jaguar's talk, it'll be an opportunity for people as they're entering into the room to sort of mill around and get information and get excited. And then I think, as Mark said, after his talk, hopefully people will really be excited. They're really going to get it. And they're going to be crowding all the tables.
We'll hand out assignments.
Right.
Jane, will you be collecting, like, maybe the different tables might, like, just like when we did the workshops in the fall, then maybe a sign up sheet if you want to know more about the land trust, or you want to know more, so people can add their emails and stay connected?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend that for each table.
Yeah.
So I know the land trust is definitely going to have a sign up. I presume the Natural Resources Division usually has their sign up. I don't know how the green team will handle that. Maybe if there are other students who are going to be there, hopefully, they would do that. Certainly any way that people can engage through a volunteer sign up, through a listserv where they maybe push out regular content or emails or something. Absolutely. Any other questions?
So we've in the past, we've brought materials in April and then again at Ag Day and had a table, talking, about NOMO, May and even, broader programs like Lois made a great poster for our Ag Day thing of, leave the leaves, and Isabel gave out plants. I could see us giving out starts of willow, for example, if people want. At least I've got enough to, probably keep 10 people happy, if not 50,
You put one on every seat.
That 60 or so are signed up, because you can only take, what is it, 65 or 75 in the room?
I think it's 100.
125.
Okay.
It capped at 125.
Okay. Cool.
Well, we're really excited. I'm glad this has come together. We sort of limped it along, and then it just coalesced. It's great.
I am too, because we've got a lot of the high school has, and Isabel at Harrington Park have really done Giguère type gardens, that really focused on Giguère's list. And I think that's going to help a lot, because I think people, and I like the fact that his talk talks about the relationship between plants and pollinators. And he's not just limited to bumblebees, but he will, he'll. One of my favorite photos is that one of a hummingbird that, where the pollen just lands in the hummingbird's head as it comes into the flower, and it can't clean it off because it's up there. So I think it's good. I was wondering if we might want to, for example, at our table, we could perhaps have a little table of a sheet of QR codes that would direct people to other talks that he's made. Because I find in Giguère that listening to more than one of his presentations, you pick up a lot of good stuff. Each one is very good, but every time there's a little extra you learn, or maybe you just hear it again, and you say, oh, now I understand.
Mark, would it make sense to have copies of our updated charge? Although has that been approved by does it need to be approved by the select board, or?
I don't think we need the select board's okay. I think we need our own okay. We need to.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say that. I think we do need the select board's okay, but I don't. The gut feel I get is that if we like it and people around us like it, they'll probably say, sure, that's fine. But I think the charge is a good idea.
We could just have a one single sheet that has a very brief summary of what the committee is doing, and make a notation that we meet the first Monday of every month. And another thing that might be useful is sources for plants, if people are looking for that, but that might be harder to gather up quickly. I know there's the place in New Hampshire, and
so I apologize, I have to jump in. I have to get to my board meeting at 7:30. So yeah. I'm gonna bow out. But if anything else comes up, please reach out. And like I said, I will push out a logistical email probably toward the end of this week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay.
So I wanted to save this activity for us. And that is to make the parts of bumblebees and have people put together a felt magnet that is the one where they name which bumblebee they're making. And I can show you what my daughter did.
Yeah. That's an interesting idea.
Apparently this is something that parents of young children are getting And she had seen it and wanted to make it. Oh, well, here we go. This is a bumblebee. This
Yep.
is, and then, let's see if I have, and then we have the wings and the bottom, and then that you put on it, and it, depending on which one it is, how much black you add.
Nice.
Isabel, are you meaning this? I'm a little confused. Is this for the library event, the Jagear's
Yeah.
talk?
Yeah, for
Does-
gears.
Are there gonna be, I mean, it seems like more of a children's activity. Are there gonna be children there, or?
No, but I think it really is. I mean, I have found it hard to differentiate the different bees. And
Mhm.
so if we have a model, hi Janet, a different Janet.
Oh.
I said hi to you too. Then people could really connect with, this is what the different bumblebees look like.
I think that's a great idea.
I thought Lois and I could work on that together, volunteering Lois.
Okay, it's good. I need that. The UMass thing with the review of bumblebees,
Uh-huh.
it has, I just have it in black and white. I just printed it out a little while ago, but look, I don't know if you can see it. But-
Exactly. And so that's what we would offer, is the dot and the lines,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, have that as the model in many places, and people could then actually try and make the different bumblebees.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, let's think that through. And it's in color. I don't have a color printer.
Right.
But on the website, and it's almost exactly the type of thing you've got, and then it's in color and the little black marks, and that's what I was looking at. And then they actually have a photo of the bee. So you thank you for saying that, because that's what I said. I call them the fluffy bees. I just can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
And most people can't. Yes, Janet Rock?
I'm wondering if a nice thing to do would be to have line drawings that they could color in and take with them. Because I think the act of actually putting the colors in would help get it into your head. And then you could have this thing you take back with you, and maybe you could stick it on your fridge or something like that, or take a picture and then you'd have it in your phone when you go out in the woods.
All right, maybe we
That
take
easier.
a couple different shots at figuring out something of that nature.
Okay,
I
yeah,
like the color kind of thing, because you can take it with you.
yeah, because the felt, we don't want to, I mean, the felt thing's great if you have like a classroom and you can have kids manipulating it, but to take with you and take home, piece
So
of
this
paper
would
is
be
probably better.
enough for people to take home. They would make
Yeah.
their own.
Almost like a fridge magnet kind
okay.
of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, if you
Oh,
want to do all
Well,
that.
let's
cutting.
figure it out. But
Yeah. Maybe with an
something along
info
that.
sheet that shows the different configurations. Yeah. I think-
Okay, Lois, can I nominate us as a committee?
Yeah, I'll go. with
Any
it.
other volunteers?
Okay.
No? Okay.
I was thinking along those lines, and maybe this relates, of teaching people how to use their phones to identify bees. There's a technique. There was a workshop done that Janet's old group at Lincoln organized last summer, where you take your phone and you record and video a picture of the bee walking
Yeah.
around on a flower.
I had thought of doing a spring-loaded bee. So people had to follow it with their camera
Yeah, yeah.
as
And
a chance to practice.
It's I think it's a useful thing. What Jagear told us last summer, and he might mention it tomorrow night on the night of his talk, was to turn your camera up to fairly high resolution. So I turned mine up to, he said 4K was the best. I could do, my phone could only do 2K, but that really was helpful, because I took a video of up in Maine of what I thought was a Bombus vagans on a flower in Kennebunk. And then when I came back and I played it back on my, I loaded out to my computer, this one, my laptop, played it back, and then I pointed my phone at the screen, and it said, no, that's a Bombus terricola. You know,
Oh,
Seek identified it, and I said that was. So then I took some careful stills of the video and looked at Wikipedia pictures of the two different species, and sure enough, it was a Bombus terricola.
well, that's a very cool technique. I think one of the things about tables is it's a lot of paper and not a lot of interaction.
I
don't
like
know how you could demonstrate that.
I do like really like the idea of the model, and then the what Janet suggested, you know, so people get familiar with the fact that these just, you know, when you look at a bumblebee, it's not just a bumblebee, it actually is, there are different types, you know. I mean, so that would be a lot of fun. That's a real contribution I think we could make.
So we could actually just make a column of the bumblebees, a blank column that they color in
Yeah,
with the name.
yeah. Or I think what you've talked about sounds peachy, you know, you and Lois.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you could set up the video taken, a picture of that video increased, and then a screenshot of Seek identifying it.
I could even just bring my phone, right? And this laptop we're all on, well, you're all on in my room. And I could play the video on the laptop and people could point their phones at it. They could probably at the library, you've got Wi-Fi at the library. People could probably download the app Seek onto their phone and give it a shot. And also they could download that Beecology app. I think both of them are.
I think that's a really good.
Gosh, because
Yeah.
I think this
That's an undertaking. Are you willing to do that?
So we'll
Me?
need paperwork to go with it too, right? I mean, because not everyone's going to be able to snap and go.
Okay, good point. What I like about this, the idea that you've got, if you know, of identifying and understanding how to differentiate the species of bumblebees, fits right into our what I think of as part of our charge, which is pollinator health. And what we're trying to measure diversity, and we're going to need everybody's help to do that.
Yeah.
Because we really don't know how diverse the population is in Concord right now. And
Right.
And if
But
we're going to do all this,
So we will,
it-
Lois and I will do our thing, and you're gonna set up your thing.
yeah. And
Okay, and-
why don't we, the three of us coordinate a little bit, you know,
Okay,
if I
Yeah,
get this thing
okay,
together, I'll send it out to you guys. You can try it out yourselves, see if it works.
you wanna, if you're free, well, I know there's a storm coming Saturday, but maybe you could come to the seed
Kidding.
packing at,
Oh,
Fowler.
on the 11th.
yeah,
Not
and
the-
we
yeah.
could give it a try there.
Okay,
That's in the afternoon, 1 to 4.
yep. Okay, that's a Fowler, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
What day again is that?
Saturday, the 11th.
Oh,
It's supposed to have a storm, so I don't know, you know.
You're
how it's
kidding,
all-
really?
Just
Yeah.
It
just
looks-
rain on Saturday, I think.
yeah. It's pretty
Okay.
wimpy compared to what we've,
So
Yeah.
Lois, if you can come on Saturday, we could also work on V identification. If you
Okay,
can't-
I have a pretty full day Saturday, but I may be able to still make it. I'll talk with you.
Okay,
good. Well, let's see, are there anything else we want to put on the table?
so those are 3 things on the table so far, right?
What have we got? Yeah,
Willows,
Okay.
Right.
identification sheet to color,
uh-huh,
and video ecology.
okay,
And also, I'm pretty sure that Minuteman Media will be filming Dr. Gagir's talk. So
Yeah.
ideally, we want everybody to come, but if somebody misses it, or like you said, Mark, sometimes it's helpful to watch more than once. And so at least that will be a resource we can point people to. So.
Yeah.
okay, good point.
Okay.
And do we want a single sheet of paper that summarizes the committee mission
Yeah.
and note when meetings are?
Yeah,
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
liked your idea there. Yeah,
thanks,
that's-
Christina.
4 things. It's seedlings, mission, felt bumblebee, and coloring bumblebee. And
okay,
that's actually 5 things.
okay,
Well, I don't think we're doing the felt. We may show how to do it, but we're not a big emphasis.
I think
Okay.
maybe we'll skip the felt and do the ID sheet.
Yeah, I like
Ah.
that. Okay, and then the
Okay.
ID phone.
And Janet Anderson just sent me this. Does it read direct? Can you read, is it backwards or frontwards?
no, it says
fine.
tips to ID your ID.
Yeah, it's a YouTube.
Good,
All
okay,
right.
I can send that to everybody, I think.
that'd be
Thanks.
great, yes.
Thanks, Isabel.
This
I'm
is
glad
Stan. Can
I'm
you
not
run
the-
down the 5 items quite quickly? I missed a
Sorry,
couple.
I think we're down to 4, Stan, but it's,
4, okay.
Mark is gonna bring some willow cuttings.
Yep,
We'll need a single sheet sort of summarizing the mission and note when our meetings are, take that from our charge. Janet and Lois, or sorry, Isabel and Lois will do sort of an ID sheet / coloring
Yep.
drawing thing.
Yep.
And then Mark suggested the demo.
okay,
So I'm gonna be out of town for a week and a half prior to this, and I won't be able to get there at 6. There's no way. I usually don't get home from work until 6, so I'm not gonna be much help, unfortunately. I won't be
Okay,
able to, I probably won't get there until 6:30.
It's
yeah,
okay. That's fine. As long as you help at the table.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I won't, I mean, I
We
won't
could-
be able to because I won't, I mean, the talk's right at 6:30, right?
Yeah,
But then it's only an hour.
I thought the talk started at 7. 6:30 to
I
7.
think
there's
6:30,
tables.
yeah,
Oh, it's 6:30?
yeah.
Really?
And I'm guessing that afterward, like Janet was saying, or Jane was saying, we'll probably be busy afterward too. Well, hopefully we'll be busy afterward, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we want to put in, if we have, I'll look, but I wonder if that thing you showed, tips to identify your bee. That looks kind of interesting. I wonder if that includes bees like, like mason bees and other.
Oh, no, I
kinds.
haven't seen it, so we can look
Okay.
at it and maybe we
Okay.
can run it on an iPad.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there's
just checked the timing, and it's 6 to 6:30 for the tables and 6:30 to 8 for the talk.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be some discussion as part of the talk, I think.
Yeah.
Have all you guys signed up for the talk? Have you registered?
Yes,
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I finally got around to it today.
and I didn't know that, Laura, I didn't know you were sending it out to all the gardens, so I forwarded it to the Cousins Garden Group as well.
Oh, that's all right. The more the better.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Should we bring with the stuff we've brought to Ag Day and last April, some of those handouts?
Or leave the leaves, yes.
Definitely.
I took it apart.
Oh, you didn't.
I did, yeah.
I got a glue
I'm-
gun.
So what do I have to do, a no mow May?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice. You know,
Well,
my
help
neighbor,
Apart.
if the snow goes away, which it probably will between now and then, My neighbor didn't rake his leaves this fall, and it's beautiful. He's done it more than 1 year, and it's covered with oak leaves. The grass looks great later on in the summer, and I'll take a picture of it. Maybe we could use that for Leave the Leaves.
I can do another one for next fall.
Oh, that would be awesome. Do you want some more leaves?
It's okay. I just have the,
Okay.
Hi, Steve.
so no
Hi,
mailman.
Steve.
Hey, sorry to be late. I've been trying to get in. I couldn't make the links work.
Ah,
Hey, hi,
Nuts.
Steve.
Hi.
ah. Well, we've been talking about getting ready for Jaguar's talk at the end of the month. We've got that looks like a pretty good list. What do you any other thoughts? Okay, should we move on to the next topic?
Yep.
Okay. That's the future of our committee. I appreciated chatting with folks about our committee, each of us individually over the last week or two. And I think the committee's got a future. I think there's lots of ways we can do this, which is kind of what was outlined by Matt. We could continue the way we are, or we could be a subgroup of a diversity committee inside the natural resources committee. That's fine. It doesn't matter. We know what we got to do. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I was looking at natural resources and how many subcommittees there are, and there are a lot. I didn't count them up, but almost 10, I think,
Oh, wow.
which I did not realize. And I personally, I think that I think Concord would benefit from having a group that is the pollinator pathway dedicated to native plants and biodiversity. And then in that, there could be sub-working groups for deer management, for mosquito management, for, planting pollinators. And I think reaching out broadly to all of the different possible groups that might have individuals interested, because I don't think there's a group of interest, but I think like Andover, they had 12 people show up from a very diverse, group.
Mhm.
And the pollinator pathways provided a real good working website and a lot of resources, and wasn't limited to Gagir's list and that kind of thing. And the precepts, I think there are 3 precepts, and that is plant native, no pesticides, and I can't remember the other one. I could look it up quickly because I just got one from the New Hampshire pathway people. But that's sort of how I see it.
Mhm. You mean, so you're saying maybe not a subcommittee of the NRC?
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm in the meeting, I should go back, but I do want to hear.
I would agree with that too, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I like the pollinator focus.
Okay.
So it's stop mowing, plant natives, avoid pesticides.
Yeah.
Those are the
Yep.
precepts.
Okay.
I mean, that we can work out, but that's the idea, or minimize pesticides at least.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to fly. I mean, I think that it would be worth it to see what kind of interest there is, see what resources from the individuals that show up to make it work.
Mhm.
And if it will fly, it'll fly. And if it doesn't, I don't think there's harm done. I'm not
Yeah.
saying just cancel us, but get that started.
So
Yeah.
Isabel, are you the way you're suggesting it, it would be more like a citizens group, like what Matt suggested,
Mhm.
rather than an NRC subcommittee.
Right.
Or we could just continue as our own, I mean, part of like, we have a pollinator committee. We could continue that way too. I mean,
But-
that basically like you were, I was under the impression that you was sort of looking at what we were doing and then the plants, the biodiversity, the pathway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple ways it can go. At least, I mean, there's
I mean, I
multiple
think that
ways.
the advantage to what Isabel is saying, and Matt sort of urged us to think about that, was that a more broad reaching, larger group that's not constrained by open meeting laws and
Oh, yeah.
things like that might get more done. We're a very small group. It's tough.
Is there any possibility that we should look at when we're doing the table for the Gear talk, that we should have a sign up or an interest form or some mention of the broader pollinator looking that night?
Well, I think that depends on if we can pull it together to actually figure out a time and place that we would have people meet.
Well, I don't, I was thinking just pre a meeting time, just if you've got some interest.
Mhm.
Do you still,
Then we can figure
is-
out those pieces. I mean, that'd be nice to have say, invite people to
Mhm.
a time, but if we don't have that, at least get an interest. But that's a good idea, is to actually have a time and say, come on, come over for cookies or something and we'll talk bees and butterflies and whatever.
Isabel, didn't you get a list of people interested in being on a mailing list at the Ag Day?
Yeah, and I got no response from anyone that I wrote to.
Oh, okay.
All right. So maybe that's an idea.
What
then
did you
you're
say
saying
when
is
you
to have the-
wrote?
is to have that meeting time.
I said, that you had signed up and you had expressed interest, please contact me, I think. It was a long time ago. I mean, Ag Day was beginning of September, so
Right.
I think we should start over.
Mhm. What about the group that was at the winter sow?
Yeah, when we send reminder emails to that group to encourage them to sign up, we did send a follow-up after the winter sow. But if we hit another email out to all of them and blind copy so they don't see each other's emails, we could say, reminder, sign up for Gear Talk. If you can't make it but are still interested in talking to us about the Pollinator Pathway Project, please write back and let us know and we'll add you to our list. How would that be?
Perfect.
Oh,
That
that's
sounds good.
awesome.
Okay.
So Isabel, you're thinking maybe we have this this is not a town committee, but a separate organization, as Christina was saying. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's the same as I don't think the Mystic Charles Pollinator Group is a town committee.
Yeah.
I know that the New Hampshire one isn't, but they are connected with the New Hampshire continuing ed group, University Ed Continuing Ed. And then,
Cooperative extension.
yeah, they're independent.
Would that work? Like you've been working on Harrington Park, for example,
Mhm.
and would Delia go with that? In other words, an independent group coming in and planting on town land?
Well, she has to approve everything I do anyway.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, so it doesn't make any difference. Cool. But the other one thought I had would be, it would be might be very interesting to work for our committee to work together, whether it's an independent or this committee. But the town, we have all this wonderful town land, along roadsides that people are using for pollinators. And we could talk to Alan Cathcart and say, hey, add add red bud to your list of plants that you're sticking along the roadside, or, trees. Or maybe even, American basswood here and there. I know they've used them in Arlington.
You see, I think that could be a subcommittee of the pollinator pathway of people that address trees. And
Right.
there are people interested in trees.
Yeah,
And I know that on Hubbard Street, a friend put in a whole bunch of native plants and the town tore them out, said it wasn't allowed. So then she's a fairly forceful individual. And so she said, we're going to plant this whole hell strip. But she's not 100% native plants.
Yeah.
But they've done Hubbard between Stowe and Walden have planted or will be planting that hell strip specifically for beautification.
Nice.
I think Alan would be receptive to doing some of those plantings.
yeah. I would
It's
think so.
really, you really need to be talking to Aaron McCloskey. He's the tree warden. He's the head of buildings and grounds, or not, highways and grounds.
Yep.
And he's Alan Cathcart oversees all of the DPW, so I think you would just push it back down to Aaron anyway.
Sure.
I think if you wanted to do this, you contact Aaron and CC Alan Cathcart on it.
Okay. Does it make any difference if we're a town committee or an independent organization in terms of how that would play out?
Nope. I have been dealing with Aaron. I don't think we even, I'm up on a Nersnack Hill. We have a neighborhood association, and
Yeah.
a friend of mine and I in the neighborhood asked Aaron, it was back in January of 2020, if we could clear out the town right of way on prison land. It's actually Department of Corrections land, because we're on the backside. The backside of our neighborhood is on the Northeast Correctional Center land. And so we were allowed to do some clearing. He gave us constraints, like nothing bigger than I don't know, it was like 2 inches in diameter, only invasives, blah, blah, blah. But it was horrible. It was mostly invasives, and there was poison ivy creeping into the road. Anyway, we cleared it out, and we're just a couple of citizens, and he was very happy. I think as long as you he feels like you're trustworthy and there's some oversight, he's okay with it. I mean, for years and years, I've been asking whoever's the head of Highway and Grounds, if we, the Nersnack Hill Association, members can go out and please, can we pull the garlic mustard in the town right of way? And they say, of course you can. Free labor is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. What's not to love?
Yeah. So, and I head up groups of high school kids. I've been doing it for years, pulling garlic mustard. So I think it's good to notify the town when you're doing this.
Okay.
Probably directly to Aaron. And, if you're doing something like invasives, you want to get the bags from Delia. There's all sorts of faulty roll. But yes,
Sure.
you don't have to be you can be just a plain old, they're happy to have you if you're trustworthy.
Cool. Okay. One back on the table, I apologize. One thought I had relates to what we've been talking about, which is we might put on our table encouragement for landowners not to treat their sod with if they have a landscaping company, not to treat their ground with neonics that control grubs. Because the application rate of those, if you follow the package directions, the application of those is like 4 times as bad as it is for coated corn seed, for example, like they might use, like Steve talks about, so the hit rate is pretty nasty from turf. And it might be nice we might nip a few applications in the bud. Okay,
They should have a neonic information.
Yeah.
Okay.
like I did
Darcy,
go over,
might put a handout on that.
yeah, I
Okay.
did go over to the hardware store. I didn't recognize anything right away that was a neonic. But
Yeah.
I'm not like really sharp on it, but there was tons of Roundup. This was
Yeah.
over at Rockies, and this was a few weeks ago. I couldn't believe
Yeah.
how much Roundup was there.
Yeah. That's
So,
been banned in Europe, hasn't it? So, as I understand it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nasty stuff. Oh, yeah, and it's water soluble. It gets into the water. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Isabel, you
Let's
could
do-
bring your mosquito dunks and the Vanderhoof sign so people can see it.
Okay. Yeah. You've got that, Isabel?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I gotta make a list here.
how big is that table?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, well,
We got
that is a good question.
extension?
What,
Is it, I mean, is it, is it, is it the 6-foot tables, or is it like a 4x4?
I
I
would,
think it'll be a long table.
yeah. I've got one I can bring from home. So. Okay, thanks. Well, this looks interesting. So maybe our idea is to say, we'll run out the clock for maybe another month or two as this, and then organize ourselves independently. We'll need, one thing we get from the town is a website, which I guess we really haven't used a lot, I have to say.
Well,
we
and we
did-
haven't even been able to get it sort of updated to better suit our needs either. So there's just no resources for it.
Yeah, so we'll need to get some sort of resources to provide a website or some sort.
The Andover explained that when they set up their pollinator pathway, that organization will offer you a website free of
Yeah.
charge. So it would be Concord's Pollinator Pathway. And you would simply submit the materials that are important to you all to their
Yep.
coordinator, and they would put them up for you.
Terrific.
Okay.
That sounds super. Plus they're keyed into what we want. So it's not like we're asking them to do something that's out of the ordinary.
Okay, so I'm a little concerned. Are we leaving behind the farms?
Yeah. I don't think we need to leave behind the farms, do we?
What are you thinking for the talk, or what are we talking about?
In terms of when our committee disappears.
Yeah.
Couldn't you
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure that?
we would ask
that
them
would
to,
make-
yeah.
Yeah, make sure that they're asked to join. I mean, there's,
Okay,
farms are a key stakeholder as well.
Yes.
right, but all of what we've talked about hasn't had any farm that I'm here, or I'm visualizing or hearing, or farm, commercial farm, and then commercial. We've never really done much conversation with the commercial landscapers in town either. Most of our current conversation is with home consumers. And I was under the impression in the past, there was more conversation with farmers
Mhm.
and people of that, who maybe had that heritage, and some of, I guess, have transitioned to landscaping types of greenhouses and landscaping types of things.
Well, and Lois, you've been going to the ag committee meetings, right?
That's right. And so
Yeah.
does Steve. And so does Steve,
Yeah.
even if he's far, far away.
And I think that's something we should be doing. I haven't. I mean, I went to an ag committee meeting years ago. But I really feel like I should be. And that's why tomorrow we've got this activity over at Colonial Gardens that I hope we all can make to as many, we just have to let them know we're coming. I know
Okay.
Lois is going, I'm planning to go, and I'm thinking I'm bringing Pamela with me if they'll let her in. Because we'd like to see their operation but I agree with you. I think, even though the rate of neonic applications, say for coated seed, a cornfield is lower per acre than it is for turf. There's a lot of draw in agricultural crops that brings in bees to do the pollination, because a lot of those crops provide pollen and or nectar. I mean, I look at my corn down at the ball field when I'm growing it every summer, and when that stuff starts to tassel, there's probably about 4 honeybees and a couple of bumblebees on each stalk, you know, just having a ball, just taking as much of the pollen as they can. So I do really feel if we're going to be successful, we need to be working closely with farms. And so Lois, you sort of feel if we were a town committee working, say, with the ag committee as another town committee, that might be more successful. Is that right?
I don't know about that, but I think that the original, when I go back, I mean, and like I said, I'm new to this, and look at the Pollinator Health Advisory Committee, that part of the focus was the questions about what the town is doing, what the agriculture people, you know, what people are doing, not just consumers.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, most of our focus recently has been on consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, but I mean, it's just questions. I don't think I have answers. I do not have answers. I have questions. And the other thing is I will stop and stop around and try to see what's with the neonics, because that legislation is rather specific. And if they're going to just change the labeling, apparently they could change the labeling for the consumer neonics, and you could sort of sneak under. Like,
Oh, wow.
say it says it's for rodents, but I could use that on my lawn. Might not be the best, but
Ooh.
it's how it's labeled, apparently, from my understanding. Christina did some look, I think I'm looking at that too, but and that's, I would like to understand that whole thing a whole lot better. And then if the Roundup is still around, I mean, that's, to me, should be addressed too. I couldn't believe the amount of packages that early on, it was like a wall of Roundup in the Rockies. I was dumbfounded by that. I mean, I got to admit, I was tired, and it was late in the day, and I was very tired, and they had a walk. They used to have everything in the front, and I was way in the back. And, you know, I was just kind of taken back, and I don't know, like, again, I'm dumb enough. I don't know a lot, so I'll ask a lot of questions. I'm not dumb, but I mean, I don't know these things, so I ask a lot of questions. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know what, you know, if the Roundup has been diluted, if whatever. I'm like, from what I asked Mark, he said that they still had the forever ingredients in it.
Mhm.
I wonder if there is an expert either at the extension or at the universities or somewhere that could really, you know, teach us, educate Concord and us about neonics and such. I'd be willing to reach out to the Tufts people and see if they have something, because I know they're very worried about all of the native bees. But I don't know if other people have other resources of people that they could ask if there's a speaker.
That's a good idea. I don't know Tufts, but that's a really good idea.
So
Yeah,
I'll
they
reach out to the Tufts pollinator people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were on the radio just within the week with stuff.
I know the literature, the scientific literature about neonics, for example, imidacloprid, talks about 1 part per billion in the diet of a larval bumblebee affects their longevity, reduces it. And I know something less than 5 parts per billion in the larval food of a honeybee significantly reduces its ability to resist nosema disease. So we're talking tiny amounts.
Yeah,
Could you reach out to the honeybee community and see if they have somebody on it?
Sure could, yeah.
I think the use of neonics has been diminishing in agriculture
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
last few years. They
Yeah.
have come out with some effective seed treatments now that don't incorporate neonics.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
incorporate.
great.
Um, Several of the seed companies have gone away from anything with them now,
Yeah,
but that wasn't available a few years ago.
right.
okay.
I wonder if NERFA or whatever their name is, whether they've got somebody. I bet they do. Anybody willing to reach out to them?
Who is it?
The NERFA, the organic farmers.
Oh, right.
Oh, NOFA.
No,
That's a good question.
I'm not willing to reach out. I haven't had any luck with them, but somebody else do it.
Okay,
I'd
I'm a
like
NOFA
to,
member, so I could give it a shot.
You remember?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, good. Go for it.
Well, I should say our community garden is a member. It's considered a small farm, very
Okay.
small, less than an acre. No competition for Verrill. But I could ask them about that. I know they,
For a speaker.
speaker, okay,
yeah, no, it's, they don't, it's not the, things, but just then when you're thinking of speakers is, Ag Committee has, a no-till speaker for, towards the end of the month. They were originally going to have it on the same night that Gagere, and I suggested that might not work so well.
Yeah, that's gonna be,
They apparently have it at Hobby Wheeler. Do you know when it is, Steve?
yeah, it's the night before.
25th?
A night
How's it-
earlier at Harvey Wheeler.
How's it
And
advertised?
that's on no-till cropping.
And is it open to everybody?
Yes, oh, yeah, yeah.
So how's it advertised?
It'll be online various places and then the town newspaper.
Okay,
So that's what, the Tuesday night? Is it Tuesday?
Pardon?
The Tuesday, it's Tuesday, right?
yeah, I think you're right. The
How's
28th.
it- Yeah, how's is Wednesday? Yeah. Tuesday.
Cool.
And their person is coming from UMass. And I don't know, I don't remember which school, or if it's cooperative extension or the ag school.
Yeah. It
What-
says, it's on Instagram, under Farms of Concord. And so it says Sam Glaze Corcoran from UMass. Yeah. So Wednesday, oh, well, actually, has it been changed to April? There's something April 26th at Harvey Wheeler from 7 to 8:30. It says April on Instagram, but maybe we should just confirm.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe it's been moved to April.
what time?
It says 7 to 8:30 at Harvey Wheeler. It says the spring forum, turning the soil, the dirt on tillage, and no till.
Super.
That's, yeah. So that's a Wednesday then.
It's April 28th, you said, Laura?
Sorry, April 26th. Yeah. And if you go on social media I'm on Instagram and it's Farms of Concord. You can follow them.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
Mark, it's almost 8 o'clock.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think one last thing, maybe, although we probably know this, under new business, the last thing on it, there was some sort of a discrete, I mean, not some sort of, our discrete goal for the month or this spring. And maybe how's about getting this information table as effective as possible for the end of the month being our goal, and then we can Is that a reasonable, or does anyone have a specific goal they'd like to add, or?
Tell everybody you know about gear.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and that actually, that we've talked about education, and this is certainly a big part. This is it, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I don't know, is there anything else, or?
Is there
Because-
enough? Last year when I met some of you was an event in the spring.
Yes, in April?
I don't remember.
It was April 30th. It was that thing that was sort of a joint effort. It was on the library lawn.
Yeah,
Cooler Concord.
Right,
they
right. We were making bug houses, some of us.
Yep.
were they doing that again?
No. But
Okay.
there is Earth Day. And if in the bridge, it was announced that Delia is gonna hand out 2 pollinator types of kits at Earth Day on April
Okay.
22nd.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
I may be working on transplanting those plugs. So if anybody is interested in helping to transplant those plugs of native plants, please contact me.
Okay. Yeah, and I started a whole bunch more milk jugs with stuff in them, seeds.
Good.
If they come up, I'll send out an appeal, help. I'm gonna have
Does
a
that
ton of little
mean-
tiny plants that are gonna want a bigger home, you know?
okay.
We can
I have a
help.
question for Steve. Steve, do you happen to know off the top of your head when Ag Day is this year?
It's a Saturday after Labor Day. I forgot, was it the 9th maybe? I
The
forgot.
9th? Yeah, that's what I thought it would be, but I wanted to double check. All right, I have a list of upcoming events at the bottom of the minutes. So I've got,
Okay.
not that this helps anybody because these don't get published till a month later, but March 11th is the Fowler seed packing. 29th is the Jagir talk. April 22nd, Earth Day. April 26th, no till talk. And then I've got Ag Day on here.
Oh, great.
Is there anything else that we show up to do? Because I asked about an events calendar because I wasn't that familiar with what we annually do and what is like a one-off.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good start at it, you know, in other words, some
Yeah.
of these
Oh,
things,
yeah.
I think we're sort of finding our way too. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think our events calendar was showing up at Ag Day with a table. And Stan and I used to do that. And then we put together an article for the town warrant, you know, a couple of years, and then COVID came along and things kind of ground to a halt there for a little while.
Yeah.
But I like the idea if we had an interactive website, maybe this group, Pollinator Pathways, we could put an events calendar on our page there. That would be quite nice.
Yeah.
And would Pollinator Pathways provide a way for people to get a hold of us? In other words, could we have like a common email
Yeah.
address? People
Yeah.
could.
You can make your own email. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds nice because we do have one at the town, but it took a long time to get it working, and the guy got it working the other day, but nothing's coming in. It forwards to me, but I haven't seen a thing yet. So this might spark some interest, so to speak.
It's hard to find even when you're looking at it for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this, it seemed like there were a billion layers to get there. And I was trying to be like, persistent, and it was a lot of persistence, I thought.
Okay. Well,
Um,
that's another issue then. Maybe it'll be a little more streamlined this other way.
no, I mean,
Oh,
the question I have about pollinator pathways, what is their view on pesticides?
Avoid them. Absolutely avoid them.
That's okay.
yeah.
That is an absolute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same with the Sudbury Valley group, that I'm part of. They're just saying if you're gonna put in a pollinator garden, no pesticides,
Right,
especially
yeah.
not persistent.
Yeah,
In
I
in
understand.
light of that, the new book, Prairie Up, which is how to change your lawn into a meadow, he recommends using chemicals to kill your lawn first, which is
Really?
absolutely absurd. So I don't recommend that book based on his first initial. I mean, all of his other advice is good, but that start is just a horrible start.
That's wild.
Yeah,
And there's especially for homeowners, there's some very reasonable, rather easy ways of getting around most of that.
yeah,
Oh,
Wow.
that's great that they're having the no-till discussion, because that'll be perfect.
yeah.
Like to
Well,
put in a
Well,
plug.
no till to a farmer, I think, from what I gathered, Steve can correct me, is a little different than some homeowners might think of no till.
Right. Janet?
Yeah, I'd like to put in a plug for a more integrated approach in the town. I was on a talk a few nights ago. The talk was given by Michelle Grisenda, who's the conservation director in Lincoln and previously ran the deer management program in Weston. She was one of the speakers, but it was the talk came out of Acton, and it was about ticks, the different kinds of ticks, the diseases, the control methods, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of what we're talking about using no pesticides is just going to be, it's going to go right over them because they're going to say, I've got ticks, I've got kids.
Right.
The kids are more important than whatever.
Right.
And in order to keep ticks from, most ticks, not the Lone Star tick, but the other kinds of ticks that we usually have around here, don't live in short grass. So when you tell people to get rid of their lawns and have meadows, a lot of people are going to say, oh my God, I'll just have ticks.
Right.
So I think, yeah, there are a lot of integrated problems here.
Yeah.
Or, problems are related to each other. So that's one reason I've been pushing for a more sort of umbrella organization, like a biodiversity committee that would say,
Yeah.
okay, given our particular environment here in Concord, you at least, I guess even if you live in the center of town and you have some leafy debris on the ground in a garden area, you can still get ticks. Anyway, it's just, hearing you talk just now, it's diametrically opposite of some of the stuff you hear, to deal with ticks.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's something we if we had pushed for a more integrated situation and a way of dealing with biodiversity issues, we'd be better off.
I'm a little concerned there's so much feeling toward absolutely no pesticides.
Right.
If you take a squash plant starting to grow and the flea beetles come in and you don't treat the plant to kill the flea beetles that are on the leaves of the young plant, you won't have any squash blossoms later on. And you can use short-term pesticides that won't have any effect by the time they blossom. They won't go into the plant. They'll just be on the surface to get the munching insects as they munch it in. And
I've got to
think
go.
people are getting
Sorry.
carried over a little bit.
Hey, honey.
Yeah.
how you doing?
Yeah,
Um,
I think you bring that's the parts that I'm concerned about, that whole loop. And I don't know too many orchards in Concord, but the people with the orchards tend to spray. And I don't know all the things, but some of the sprays are considered organic, or they can still sell their products as organic. And I think it's just to say no pesticides is not, as much as I'd like to, see less, I don't think that's, I think we have to listen better than we're listening right now in terms of that. It's not I don't think it's an absolute. And thanks, Steve, for saying exactly what you just did. And that's some of what I've been picking up when I listen to the farmers.
The difference between a organic pesticide and a conventional one, by definition, is that the organic one is derived from natural ingredients and not manufactured, basically. And the thought comes to mind with me that I've said occasionally is, if you saw a rattlesnake sunning himself in a bed of poison ivy, you probably wouldn't lie down beside him to get a suntan. But that's all natural ingredients right there.
Yeah, and the main ingredient to kill ticks is permethrin, and kills other insects too.
Yeah.
You can get permethrin soaked clothing, and if it's done professionally, it'll last for 70 washings, and it's considered the best way to keep yourself from getting bit by ticks. Permethrin is extracted from, I think it's is it marigolds or chrysanthemums?
Chrysanthemums, I think.
Chrysanthemum petals.
Yeah.
So it's organic, but what does that mean? I mean,
Well,
strictly
there's-
speaking, organic just means it has carbon in it.
I
Wait,
mean, any pesticide has one purpose, and that's to kill.
Right.
And
Well, I think one thing to think about too is the persistence. I think, if
how
you
many
spray
washes
something-
do you say?
I think persistence is, for example, with the flea beetles, if you spray and you kill the flea beetles and the squash is not in bloom, and then the spray used is only active for a few days, then when the plant blooms, and pollinators are picking up the pollen from it, it would not contain the poison that's in the spray.
Right, that's my point.
Yeah, and I think the problem with neonics, of course, is that the plant carries this the whole season, and it so the animals are picking it up, or the pollinators are picking it up all along. And in the case of, in my own experience with bugs, just from keeping bees and keeping ticks off myself without using sprays other than DEET, is that they're very sensitive to smell. And for example, for keeping mosquitoes down at our place, we use garlic, which will make mosquitoes go away. And for keeping ticks off me when I'm walking outside, I use DEET on my shoes. I don't particularly like permethrin soaked clothing. And I'm not sure that permethrin uses a pyrethroid,
Right.
chemically produced pyrethrin rather than a natural pyrethrin.
That's right. That's that's what I know too.
I know, we had that conversation a few years ago that there are these synthetic versions of stuff that have, and I think they typically have the suffix oid on them, and they are persistent. So permethrin is persistent for a few months or maybe even years. I'm not quite sure. And so I think we could work on the pesticide thing and create the balanced approach that I agree with you on, Janet, is that it's not a black and white thing. I think a little bit of nuance is helpful and works well for everybody. If that's any help.
Well,
Right,
and yet-
okay, well, I'm gonna have to get going here.
Yeah. I think
we're
a little
I had to-
over.
One of my kids called me and I had to duck out a little while ago, but I've got to get back to that now. Sorry.
Okay.
You got big events
Thanks.
happening, huh?
Oh, should we adjourn the meeting? We probably
Yep.
should. Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay. Second.
All
Thank you
right.
all for coming. Okay.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.